Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back from Shanghai, China. You're watching English coverage of the 2019 Auto Invitational, the first major of its kind in a relatively new game, in a relatively new genre, especially in the esports world. You wouldn't really be able to guess that, though, because of the incredible production, because of the ridiculous prize pool, $1 million, and because of how handsome these two gentlemen are. This is clearly a top, the highest level production possible. I'm very pleased to be joined by Excoundrel and Joel Larson. Gentlemen, great hanging out. How you doing?
I never had that kind of flattery when being introduced to
a dance.
Not bad. You can stay.
It's the truth, man.
You're allowed. You're allowed. We like you.
You guys look great, so it's the truth. But what a weekend here! I want to get your immediate reactions. Obviously, these guys were the camera masters and doing some observing. I guess Yoel, was it more you there doing the observing?
Yeah. You did the first two, I did the last three.
Oh, perfect. So reactions there from what we saw in Group A.
I thought there was some interesting things going on. There was way fewer mages than would have anticipated. The last game, I think, had one or was there any?
Didn't even have one, I don't think.
Yeah, and then there was 2 Dragon Mages in another game, and only one. Yeah, it was super interesting to see that, and that might have some to do with RNG, sure, but there could be a trend there, but we don't know yet. It was less than we anticipated, at least.
I don't want to make any sweeping statements about the meta right now because it's 3 games, realistically.
Right.
And in auto chess, usually you play what you're given. So in a lot of circumstances, I wasn't surprised to see Glacier Knight doing well. I thought that was going to be one of the strongest comps coming in. I wasn't actually surprised to see Beast Warrior. Maybe more surprised to see as much Beast Warrior, but Beast Warrior being that far up the table as well, dominating a lot of the games, that was quite impressive to me. But I'm on Yoel's side here. Dragon Mages, through the qualifiers, in the Queen Ladder coming up to this event, and it's all been the same meta for about a month now. It was Dragon Mages everywhere. Like, you could not get into a game without Dragon Mages.
And that's also, you said something about that. There's a little bit of a hint there with all the Beast Warrior players can sometimes push Dragon Mage players that are usually going more for the late game as they're a little weak in the early game. They can push them and force them to roll early and level early, spend their money too early. And that gives them a little bit more variance where they're otherwise very solid comps. Yeah. And that's maybe also a reason why we saw less of them and not them doing so well.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how it changes, as the day goes along, too. So we're about to get into Group B, and we'll just more data to work with. But let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule. We've kind of already got over this, but just a refresher, anyone just now tuning into the stream, 3 days of action here to crowning our champion. Quarterfinals are today, all day today, 4 groups, A, B, C, and D. Tomorrow will be our semifinals, where the top 4 from each group will be advancing there. We'll have 2 groups of 8. Then the top 4 from those 2 groups of 8 will be advancing to Sunday, our final day of the finals, where once again first place gets $450,000. It's just so crazy. I was just like, I don't even think I've made that much money in my life. I don't want to get too personal. That's a ton of money.
I absolutely haven't. I absolutely have not.
That's a good day's work. It's a good day's work.
Here's again just more of a visual representation of what I was talking about there. There you see quarterfinals, all best of 3. We're going to move into best of 4 for the semifinals, and again top 4 from each group. We're going to advance from there, and then we're going to have a best of 6 in the finals, and this brings us to our points distribution. First place 9, second place 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0. And really relevant here, I want to ask you guys about, from Group A, we saw someone from the United States of America, Monty. He got first in the first game. And then it didn't really work out, and he didn't end up qualifying.
I'm going to be honest, the point system here rewards you for consistency as opposed to going for first place. So you've got from 9 to 5 points from first to fourth, and then you have a drop of 2 points from 3 to 0. So it basically punishes you for coming last, but there is no massive reward for coming first compared to, I mean...
There's 2 more points, right? It's 9-7.
Oh, 9-7, yeah, it's not it's not like a huge difference for coming first in the rest of the points.
But I like that it added that extra.
Yeah.
I think it's important because you need to make there's relevant decisions that are made earlier in the game whether you want to take the shot at going first, and I think you want to reward that kind of play because it makes it more dynamic. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I completely agree with you. I just think the way that we saw the people qualify from the last the last quarterfinal, it's consistency more than going for the flashy attempt at first place.
100%.
And we saw Shredded. He wasn't exactly flashy, but he was consistent across every single round, and he did get a qualifying
Shake
spot.
also in that, I think that line of thought there. But let's go ahead and take a look at all our players that we have involved. Of course, we can subtract 4 of these players, unfortunately, from Group A, as we're going to be moving into Group B with you guys. And then, of course, as the day goes along, Group C and Group D, we will be covering all that here on the English stream coverage of the 2019 Auto Chess Invitational.
Some interesting players in this group, and I'm sure Yoel can talk about it as well because he saw some of these guys play in the European qualifier. Max, I believe, came 4th in the European qualifier. 100%. Tutu is a invited player through the content creation invitation. He's actually the #1 player on the Asia server, and he was the first queen in the world, I believe, apart from the Chinese server, so the first queen outside of China.
Right.
And he was consistently the top of the leaderboard. Most people see him as a very big threat, despite not qualifying through traditional methods. And Chuck came first in the North American qualifier.
Right. Yeah. We really saw Chuck and alongside, I think it was Nudge WK. I can't remember.
Nudge was from EU. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did very well in his qualifier. Was very impressive to see. And after talking to some of the other players right before the event, these are 2 of the most respected players coming into this event. Then again, both DAZN and Monty, both very well respected players. And it didn't go so well for them, so anything can really happen when you it's kind of the clash of the titans, right?
Yeah.
It's
this
32
guy's
of
the
the best
favorite,
players
this
in the
guy's
world.
the favorite, wait, everyone is a favorite. You know what I mean? Like
live environment can change things too.
Yeah, the better people become and the stronger the player, there's going to be less and less margins.
I mean,
right?
Curie was the favorite player coming into this entire tournament, and he's gone.
Yeah,
I think he came last. I think he was actually out in last place. And that's, I think if you go and think back to that wonderful intro video we had, and it said you just need a pinch of luck. Well, that is a little bit what Auto Chess is about. You've got a best of 3 here. You do need to have luck on your side. A lot of it is about calculated risk gambling and, you know, understanding like where to take your chances. But sometimes when it comes to chances, you just need a bit of luck.
So I usually say that the better you become, the more you leave to chance, the more you can minimize the RNG that's involved. But, you know, sometimes, as you said, it's going to get to you.
Well, I think we're about to have our players step onto the stage. Of course, we already covered Group A. It's now time to move into Group B. It's kind of fun here because we have 2 other broadcasts going on. The Chinese broadcast is the main broadcast here, and then we also have a Russian broadcast going on too. So we're more or less leaning on the Chinese production to kind of see what's going on. But here we see the Chinese host here on the stage, and I believe she's on the verge of entering the next 8 players that will be participating in Group B. And again, nothing is guaranteed. But here they are, starting with Tutu from Japan.
Tutu, the #1 player, ranked on the Asian server. He's very well respected, was invited to this tournament, so didn't need to qualify. He regularly streams as well. He's got a very big stream base behind him, and I think a lot of players, a lot of people respect this guy coming into this tournament.
Yeah, he does it all, basically. So actually, I haven't seen him too much except from his streams. I'm going to be very happy to see him play here in a competitive event.
Another player from China here, Angel or Devil? Which one?
I mean, we'll see, I guess.
I guess we'll see.
Of course, you know, we talked a little bit about home field advantage. Our other 2 commentators were in agreement that, you know, there might be an element of that home field advantage. We had a South Korean player win in our last flight. Here is Jinsu, I should say, another player from South Korea.
Yeah, he has a professional Hearthstone background, actually.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of players that we have coming into this tournament have got professional Hearthstone or other card game-related backgrounds.
A lot of similarities there.
Yeah, exactly. Disowned and Chuck both have professional Vainglory backgroons playing in the competitive mode.
Seiko also.
Seiko is a current European
even, yeah.
There we see Yeken from, I believe it was Japan, or wait.
China, I think.
China, sorry about that. I saw it and then I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's a very Asian-dominated group. There's very few non-Asian players in this current group.
We have our first 4 players introduced, and now we have the next 4 that are going to be coming onto the stage. Once again, only 4 can advance. Only half the field can advance, and here is another player from China. It's Bruce.
Yeah, China, the biggest server for Auto Chess. They also have the most players coming from that particular qualification region. And as you said, being hosted here in China, they do have sort of the comfort of being on the home field.
A ton of Chinese fans in the crowd here too. The seats are very full here of those fans, definitely showing their spirit for the home field. But here is Chuck
#1
from the United States. We only had 1 American advance from the last group. Monty not able to make it through. Shredded was able to make it through. Let's see if Chuck can join his American compatriot in the semifinals.
Yeah, Chuck actually has a professional Vainglory background. He played and competed in several world championships for that game, so he's got that competitive experience coming into this tournament.
Japanese player, Bomberon.
Also a known player. I think I talked to some of the other players, and they all respected Bomberon as a one of the better. I think this group is actually. This might be the toughest group. It's a little hard to say, but from talking to the players and also having my own experience, it's very, very strong.
Here we see Max from China.
Yeah, he actually qualified 4th from the European server. He's actually a Chinese exchange student in the UK.
Oh, there you go.
He competed in the GLL EU tournament and came 4th. So he managed to actually beat out
very,
Oren
very
by a tiebreaker.
Yeah. Me and Clayton, of course, we did cast that event, and it was excruciatingly close in that qualifier for the European. It was, as you said, I think it was the game win, maybe the second time. I can't remember. It was some bizarre.
It was so close. I remember.
Yeah. Same points, just going through the tiebreakers, like recalculating them. It was crazy.
I feel like it's got to be incredibly competitive. I mean, it is a new genre, a new game, but $1 million prize pool. Like everyone's going to show up to try and compete for that.
This is the most we've ever had in any auto battler so far, right?
Yes,
this is kind of the peak so far. It's
this
amazing.
has set the gold standard, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised to know how competitive the qualifiers were, and that makes me even more excited about the matches we're about to see here because these guys, they're all really good. And you know, we were talking about it in the last group. We're like, okay, here are our favorites. Here's who's going to do well. Okay, Monty's doing fine, but Monty's out. So it's like no matter what you think is going to happen, you know, anything can happen on the live stage.
Yeah, that's one other thing also, as I think Cameron talked a little bit about the previous to the other games, is that we don't know a lot about the Chinese players, and we haven't seen their scrims, I haven't seen their qualifiers. They're a little hard to find, so it's really interesting to see how good they are, how do they play, what's their metagame like, and how does that clash with the kind of Western metagame that we do know.
I haven't seen anything from the first 3 games to suggest that we've got wildly different metagames between our regions. In fact, Chinese players seemingly favoring things like Glacier Knight and Hunters more so than anything else. But that's kind of what we expected from the meta as a whole coming into this tournament. Something else that I wanted to briefly touch on is that the way the best of 3 actually changes your mentality and your game structure coming into this. Because when you were playing in the qualifiers, I think we had a best of 8 for the finals. So we had a long qualification process to get yourself to this position.
Yeah, it was a lot of games when it came to the NA and the European qualifiers, but I believe it was a little different for the other regions. I can't remember which it was, unfortunately, but there was one region that had like a best of 1. It was like something bizarre. So players have qualified in many different ways. And maybe you have to hire a little bit more, be a little more greedy to have those high positions. I don't know. I don't know if that impacts how you play, how many games like you're going to play, but it's... The more games you play, the more you hash out the RNG, right? You're going to get the better player most of the time.
For me, if I were in this situation coming into this tournament, the way I would play it is a best of 3 scenario, I would take less risks.
Yeah.
I think I'd just be there saying, okay, like, I'm not going to try and hyper roll for something that I want here. I'm just going to take whatever is given to me. I'm going to try and play economy-focused games.
Right.
And I'm not going to try and take like super high early rolls. I saw a couple of players early rolling quite a lot, whereas I just wouldn't have taken that risk. I would have gone 10 gold round 6, 50 gold round 11 or 12, see what I get from that position forward, because I know that, you know, when I play that strategy, I am minimizing risk as much as I can. Because economy is your only constant, right? Economy is your only constant when it comes to auto chess.
Yeah, you can move in to roll for those extra longer win streaks or savor a little bit more health, but the only thing that is certain that you will get value from is the interest, and it is from the levels, right?
Exactly.
And that's the only solid value you can get, but maybe it's not going to get you the like optimal min-max highest value all the time. But it doesn't have to be, because there's 8 players in the lobby. You don't have to be first every game.
So, I mean, obviously a lot of this depends on what unit you're seeing that you actually have to choose from, right? Your first 5. Is there like a dream comp that just is thrown at you in the front where you're like, oh my gosh, this is looking pretty nice right now? Because like, you know, that's what it comes down to. Like, what are you seeing? What is being presented to you, and where do you go from there?
I think there's 2 different ways to look at it. Either I would go for Dragon Mages, right? But that's only if I don't get a lot of items. They need a few specific items. They need Magica crystals for some of their mages in the back, especially Tortola Elder, and they need some defensive items for the front line, and that's it. And then I would love to be Glacier Knight if I get a ton of items, because they can really use items because they have a lot more.
But aren't you worried about everyone else going Glacier Knight?
My view on that, and I've got a very distinct view on that, is you play your own game.
Yeah.
If you end up getting 2-star Lightblade and 2-star Hell Knight and everybody else doesn't, they have to adapt to you. You don't have to adapt to them. So you play your own game. The way I look at it is I love Dragon Mages, but it is a hard comp to come out of round 5, for instance, say, hey, this is a Dragon Mage game. Because you need to find a Dragon Knight.
I thought we were talking about optimal comps here.
Yeah, optimal comps, but I think he's...
In the end.
Yeah, I think...
but also, like, what's thrown at you in the beginning and what you have to, you know...
Yeah. That's clearly... Yeah, then I would love to have, like, a couple of Hunters.
Sure,
early.
Of course.
I think the thing with Hunters is that their increase in their synergy is actually a raw increase in damage. It's a flat bonus, which is kind of unusual in the game. Like most of the alliances are like percentage based and they scale very well throughout the game. Like warriors, like the armor scales with defense, and warlocks, of course, percentage health gain, etc. But if you get some early hunters, they can really propel you into whatever you want later on. I think that's my preferable start.
If you've got 3 1-star hunters, and you saw it with Monty's first game, and you've got like one frontline tank, like a 2-star Red Axe, like he had,
it can work.
That can just work until you find either something to transition into, or you just continue with that hunter build. Because as you saw, hunters were very popular and performed pretty well throughout that qualifying round. The dream for me is round 3, Lightblade Knight and Hell Knight in one shot. And then suddenly I'm like, okay,
let's go, let's go.
Yeah, the thing what I really like with the Hunters also, if I want to continue with that, is that it can like transition into anything. That's the thing. Like you can continue with Hunters, of course, and you're very flexible with your front line. Like you can prepare for anything. You can have high damage with Doom and Pirate Captain. You can also go into Marine. You can do all these kinds of things. But that Argaris Ranger also transitions well into Knights if you get a Death Knight. But you can also get a Mage backline with your front. There's just so many things you can do.
All right, guys, it's time to see what happens. I'm going to take a break here, and I'm going to let you guys take away. But first, we're going to hear from Max and his mentality coming into the tournament.
I always choose Goblin chess, and if I can make 3 goblins, it will be a strong build at the first, maybe just, and then I'll try to make them to level 2, and it can make me win.
It's good to hear from Max. He plays a very similar strategy that I always attempt to do. You can't go wrong with goblins in the early game.
It's true.
I mean, it's such a good like round 1 to round 10 strategy.
Yeah, the reason why goblins is so great in the beginning is that their buff, the random buff you get on one unit with extra regeneration when the combat is a little slower in the beginning. Like you don't burst down your opponent, so you get a lot of value from that buff. Secondly, there's even 3 different goblins that are all 1 cost, right? And since they're all 1 cost, you can upgrade them into 2-star, and then you can sell them when you want to transition without actually losing any gold in the exchange. So it's like the perfect transition comp, if you will.
Exactly, and you can see Max actually finds himself a level 2 Heaven Bomber here. I actually really love Heaven Bomber as an early unit because the burst potential, especially at level 2, can essentially one-shot an enemy unit pretty easily.
What I also love is getting 6 items on round 3 with 3 magic
crystals.
It's bizarre. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my word.
Jinsu,
you absolute monster.
Yeah, that is actually insane. And that is also a nice thing with the goblins is you can just jam items on them early because you're probably going to sell them all. Exactly. And they also gain a lot from the items this early. Like if you get off spells earlier with Heaven Bomber or even Ripper, like that's fantastic for you.
I just literally shove all defensive items on Ripper or Skybreaker and all offensive items on Soulbreaker and all Magicka items on Heaven Bomber. And you are probably going to sell them at some point, like you said.
For sure. As if you start, for example, with Glacier Knight, you want to be, like, since you can move items between the units, you need to place them correctly for the late game, right? But if you put them on Unity, you're going to sell it, you're going to get them back and you can place it wherever you want.
I'm interested to see Tutu as well. You know, he's got a big name behind him. And do you know what he's done here? He's put out a Gali Knight as a singular unit. I really love this, and I think it's something that people heavily underrate. Gali Knight's true damage in the early game is it's just, watch how much damage he's going to end up doing even to some of these 2-stars. It's just a lot of damage, and it's a heavily underrated unit in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and also one of the, you might think that like pure damage is better in the late game, but actually in the early game, there's a lot more defense. There's not really any, there's no Agursis bonus usually. There's no like offensive decrease of your opponent's actual defense, but there's like goblin bonus, there's warrior bonus in the front line. So,
but also when you're going up against 1-star units, the health pools are low, and therefore the pure damage.
Right.
I believe it goes 200, 250, 300 for the 1, 2, and 3-star regalia knights. So you don't really get massive increases
it doesn't
in
scale
pure
that
damage.
well. Yeah.
So you're going to do way more. Sorry, 250 at the start, and then I think it goes up to 300, 350. I can't remember exactly, but basically it's not a huge amount of scaling. Whereas the health scales much harder than that. So you're always going to have a massive drop off in damage of the regalia knight.
No, you're completely right. It's like also a perfect transition unit, much like goblins, I'd say. And it can also help you complete your Knight Alliance and like Unite Synergy earlier, and then it's going to be easy to transition a little later.
I really dislike, I don't know how you feel about this, Yo, but I really dislike 1-star Lightblade Knights. I actually think they're really bad. I think they are just mana generation items for your enemy. And I never like to field one.
I completely agree. If you don't have enough damage items in the early game, if you don't really high roll a bunch of like fish hooks and stuff like that,
or just get a frantic mask outright.
Exactly, yeah. Then they're, I think I completely agree with you. They're kind of useless since it does attack multiple enemies. Like multiple enemies does get mana earlier without dying, which means they're just gonna offput way more damage, and that's gonna snowball.
Yeah, but I can understand. I mean, Chuck's now he's got a 2-star.
There we go.
See, conversely, I think 2-star Lightblade Knight is one of the strongest early game units. You get such a power increase just from that unit getting to 2-star. And now if Chuck can find a 2-star Hell Knight, he's in such a good spot for a Glacier Knight run in this game.
Right. Lightblade Knight is really good at kind of tearing through the backline of your opponents, and since the early game is a little slower, it's not a lot of burst, right? It's going to get you continue attacking throughout the round. Actually pulls one unit out here. It's going to try to continue to lose streak, but leaves 3 units in to maybe call off a unit or 2 before losing, but does actually get punished here by 2-2's Werewolf, taking additional damage instead.
Yeah. He'll take 1 additional here. You can't really plan for Werewolf unless you're looking to open 4, and Chuck I mean, he's lose streaking. He's controlled lose streaking at this point, and I think that's why he took the extra unit out. Interestingly, that 2-2 you saw has picked up an early Tortola Elder. If there is one thing that 2-2 is known for, it's his mages.
Right.
And if he can somehow transition this early Tortola Elder into mages, he's going to be very comfortable with that composition.
No, I agree. Yeah, Tortola Elder is just one of those units that has flat damage, but somehow it's just great throughout the entire game. So you're really happy to get that early. Also, mages a good synergy to be known for in this meta game.
Yeah, 6 mages especially. 3 mages is kind of unless you're playing god mages, but I mean, 6 mages we all know is just incredibly incredibly strong.
Yeah, and we can see 2-2 barely doesn't have any mages in his comp, but he doesn't have any unit. He actually haven't upgraded any units that would cost him gold for like selling them again. He only has 1 star, or sorry, 1 cost 2-star units, and then 1 star on the rest. So he can transition into anything at this point.
Max may end up losing his win streak here. He has invested a small amount to try and maintain it, and unfortunately, he will lose to a couple of 2-stars coming out from Bomeron, who's the 2nd place player right now. Max was utilizing a synergy that a lot of people overlook in the early game, which is the Agursis synergy. That armor shred, even though it is only 4 in the early game, is actually pretty significant.
It's insane, actually.
And if you compare that with Hunters super early, it can be very powerful. Max was lacking 1 Hunter to do that, but it still allowed him to generate a small win streak in the early game.
Right, for sure. Yours is, of course, being a lot better with more physical damage, as armor only cares about physical, not magical damage. Here we have Boomeran, who just won his round against Max. Has an early God of War 2. We actually didn't see a lot of God of Wars. Did you think about that in the previous games? It's kind of insane.
We didn't see any God comps.
Which is no good comps, but barely any God of War either. Yeah. And I feel like God of War is maybe the strongest 1-cost unit in the game.
I think he's the most adaptable, strongest 1-cost unit in the game for sure.
It also scales so well. Like 3-star God of War is just bonkers.
I mean, imagine Hunter comps we had in those previous games with a God of War 3 as their front line. I mean, that's
100%.
I'm a little bit confused as to what's. I mean, I don't think what Bomeron did was particularly bad, and I think obviously you're still seeing him continue to beat out Max, who's the top player right now. Yeah. But he did remove his God synergy to go for the Beast synergy, but he doesn't actually have a completed Warrior synergy yet either.
Right. Does he have a mana item for the William?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he's got 1 magic crystal on that one.
Okay, yeah. So then it makes a little bit more sense. But I do agree with you. I think since God of War works in the way that it doesn't have any mana, it only has a spell which has cooldown. It will deal more damage if you get the divinity buff, and the divinity buff actually decreases the cooldown on all your units as long as you don't have any other synergy, any other race synergy, I should say.
What I've been really impressed with for our players over the last this game so far in the qualifying quarterfinal last game, they're all really good at managing their bench economy. It's something that newer players don't often really look, that your bench is worth part of your economy.
Right.
You have gold sitting on your bench, and if you don't intend to use those units, you might as well sell them to hit certain breakpoints. And all of our players, as you would expect at this level of play, are utilizing that bench to hit their breakpoints at a really good spot. Like everybody, you just saw Angel or Devil and also Bomberun sell off to get to 20 gold before the neutral round, just so they got that extra free 2 gold coming out of the neutral round.
Yeah, for sure. It's especially in the early game where you try to build up your economy. You want to hit interest points because that kind of snowballs you into a better late game.
Yeah.
And once you have that 50 gold, or maybe between 40 and 50 plus gold, then you can definitely experiment a little bit with having a more expensive bench to prepare you to get upgrades or prepare you to transition, right? Because you can't keep around your goblins for forever. You can't keep around maybe some of your warriors forever. And when you do need to transition, you can be very weak if you don't have enough of a bench. So there's definitely a fine line there where how much you should invest into dead gold, if you will, that's just sitting there on your bench, not helping you win the round, towards having a good transition.
Something that I'm noting from this game again, and it is reflecting the trend that we saw in our first quarterfinal, Beast Warrior on top again, and it is something that
on its way back.
It's being prioritized by a lot of our players, and Tutu, as well as Boomerang, they're all kind of thinking about it right now. Boomerang is the one that had the double. Sorry, Tutu's gone for kind of Beast Warrior, but he's more like sort of going for a human mage comp. But Boomerang, he's got that Beast Warrior right now, or at least the beast focus part of it anyway. He's got 4 beasts on the field. Sorry, no, he's got 3 with 2.
He does have 4 beasts on the field.
Technically 4 beasts, but not the 4 beast synergy.
Right.
But you're seeing how powerful this can be at generating early game win streaks, which gives you a good economy while protecting your HP.
Yeah, this is an actually nice lineup. He has the extra heal, he has a pretty good tanky frontline, and then double worm that it's very nice in the early game when they get to stay there and keep attacking when they're not a ton of splash damage to like Newton them early. As I say that, Boomerang does get to play against Bruce, which has plenty of splash damage, being able to get the poison worms in the backline. But one little wormy boy is gonna survive, so Boomerang's gonna keep his string. Barely.
Have a look at Jinsu here. We'll see when he resets where he's at. He's Glacier Knight rolling as well. His economy is a little bit behind Chuck's. I'd be interested to compare him to Chuck right now because they were both looking to go for Glacier Knight. Chuck a little bit ahead in economy while sacrificing HP.
Oh, it's looking really good actually.
Yeah, the problem that he's facing is that he's obviously got the 2-star the 2-star Hell Knight and the 2-star Light Blade. Whereas if you look at Jinsu, Jinsu's got the Evil Knight. He's got the Soul Reaper already.
I think he's doing what Clayton referred to in the first 3 games as the Knight Gamble. You stay on 5 and over 50 gold, and then you roll every round to find the Hell Knights and the Silver Blade Knights early.
Yes.
And then when you have done that, have enough of a number, then you quickly go up to 6 or 7, and then you add the others.
Yeah, this is called the hyper rolling level 5 Knight strategy.
Right.
The reason you keep yourself at level 5 is that your chances of finding 1, 2, and a little bit of 3 costs are significantly, so 3 costs not significantly high, but 1 and 2 costs are significantly higher at level 5 on a roll. And so therefore you roll at 5 to try and find as many Light Blades and as many Hell Knights out as you can. And what that does is it strangles out the Knight pool from anybody else trying to go for Knights.
Yeah.
So he's looking to strangle the Knight pool away from Jinsu before Jinsu gets the opportunity to try and compete with him for those Knights. It's a very, very clever strategy from Chuck, and it's seemingly working out because he's picked up another 2 Light Blade Knights here. Now he's got another 2-star Light Blade Knight, and he's now just 2 Light Blade Knights away. 3 Light Blade Knights away from getting a 3-star here. This is what this strategy is used for.
And it's especially working well with when you're lose streaking in the early game. Like if you're win streaking or doing kind of well, like Jinsu was, maybe this is not the best strategy, because when you stay at 5 and people are around level 6 or even level 7, like it's gonna be hard to win, right? So you gotta lose streak to be able to do this. You're probably not gonna win with so many fewer units on the board. I mean, clearly. but he's gonna find a good place here to transition. We talk a lot about which health you need to stay at before you want to transition. And when you're loose streaking, I think the best percentage life to stay at is like 40%. Over 30, still okay, but you need to be able to start winning after round 15. This is the critical point for Chuck and the other players in the kind of loose streak bracket.
I think Chuck can probably win with this composition from this point forward. If he gets a 2-star Frost Knight, that becomes a bit tankier. I think he's in a great spot, though.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's great. You really need to win against the Wolves, as you were talking about. Wolves has a lot of items. There's a lot of kind of bodies that can contain items. But also after the Wolf round, like it's starting to get a little scary when you go below 30%, because then all of a sudden you can have a bad streak and you lose so much more. If you stay over 30%, you have a bit of a cushion, so you can actually know when to save money at points. Like if you're at, say that you're at 5%, for example, then you probably have to use your gold every round to get the tiniest of upgrade all of the time. But if you have a bit of a cushion, you can like hit a few interest points and then roll down.
Yes, of course. Chuck didn't get the items I think he would have wanted from the neutral round there. I think he might have been looking for a Vamp Mask to go for a Frantic Mask there. Yeah. He did find part of a Refresher Orb, which can be okay in Glacier Knight. There are two things, or are the three units that you think you could put it on. You can put it on Fortune Teller to get extended immunity for your Hell Knights and your frontliners. You can put it on your Desperate Doctor, as we've seen in a couple of games already, to give you lots of CC. And even on the Defector, if you're looking to sort of deal with single target lockdown, it really depends on the people that you're facing up against, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if your opponent only has a few like hyper carriers, that could be definitely something you do. But most often we see it on Despacito or Desperate Doctor.
Yes. You can see Yekuan here, who's also going Glacier Knights. He's got the
Berserker and the. We have a bit of a pause here.
We're just waiting. We'll see. There's a pause coming out from our referee.
Look if we can fix what the problem may be here. I think we have a bit of a technical issue with one of the players, but we should be able to sort that out in a moment.
I think we should take stock of where we are right now in the game. I haven't had a chance to look at the scoreboard for a little while, but it looked like we had 3 Glacier Knight players, I think at least. I know Chuck, Yekuen, and I think there was another Glacier Knight player. Jinsu, maybe? Yeah, Jinsu. 3 Glacier Knight players at the very least. We had 2 Beast Warriors at the top of the table, and we had a mage, I think Tutu going for mages.
Right.
I haven't seen much from Tutu here, but he is...
he was up there. He was up there, and that's so good if you're one of the few mage players, if you have a lot of health early, and continuously hit those interest points, you're in such a good shape, because the reason why mages are so consistently good is that they hit this like peak in the like, say late mid-game to early late game, and they're very strong. And it's actually hard for any other comp to kind of compete until you get 3 stars in Glacier Knights, for example. Like Hell Knight 3 stars, Soul Blade Knight 3 stars. So took a look, Tutu looking really good. Let's check in on him when we're back in the game. It's going to be interesting to see what he's working. I wonder if were there any other mage players?
I'm having a look on the screen. You can see on the top of the screen here. This is the in our live studio. I'm having a brief look. I think Max has got 2 thunder. Has Max got 2 Thunder Spirits on the field?
Yeah, I believe so. He also does have that Shining Dragon.
Max could be looking for a God comp here. He's got God of War, he's got Shining Dragon, he's got the Thunder Spirits.
It's interesting, from the qualifiers, from the NA and the European qualifiers, we came to like a meta late in the tournament where we had a rock, paper, scissors where actually God started to make an appearance again, like a heavy appearance, because the Knight players started to beat the Dragon Mage players, but then the Gods players actually beat the Knight players. But now with the new addition of Winter Shropper,
Carop-Terran.
Yeah, that's an easy word to say.
It's a tough one.
From all the casters in the business. Anyway, that means we're going to see a lot of humans in the mage comp, so then it's going to be a little harder for the God mages, so maybe that's the reason why I haven't seen it so much more since the latest patch.
I think Tutu has actually transitioned into Hunters, if I saw that correctly.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, he has transitioned into Hunters. So
I did not see that coming. That's super interesting. I
like the decision-making process, though, because not many other players have opted into Hunters this game, from what I can see.
That's smart. And if there's a player that's gonna know when to go away from mages when he loves it himself, it's gotta be Tutu. Then he needs an overwhelming reason to do that. in the overwhelming reason might be something we see on the board. Early 2-star Siren. This is super early, around 17 Siren. It's very, very powerful with that Abyssal Guard.
Taking on Bomber on here, who is our Beast Warrior player. He looks like a very healthy Beast Warrior player, but I tell you what, Tutu has positioned things really nicely, and he's got the kind of semi-frontline Siren, which when you don't have any Magica Crystals, it can help you generate that ultimate more readily.
Sure. And we also saw the God of War actually being on the bottom here, barely attacked at all, and you really want that to tank most of the damage if you're playing Beast Warrior, but yeah, he does have a 2-star Razor Claw. That's just gonna be way too much to deal with.
And he's got a 2-star Worm with the Magica Crystal as well.
Thing with Siren is like she's super powerful, right? But the reason why she's so good is she has one of the few really strong CCs in the game. But that's less important this early of like I guess you could call it the mid game. Whereas Razor Claw is like it's basically two really strong units in one, and it does fall off a little bit, but at this point in the game, it's just probably the strongest unit to have upgraded.
I think so. I think Razor Claw is just, especially when you combine it in the Beast Warrior build, where
for sure
the Spirit Bear gets the Beast increase. Spirit Bear had to be nerfed about 3 months ago because it was just so obscenely strong with its lockdown.
But 100%.
Tutu has found a breakpoint here, which is his 2-star Dwarf Sniper.
That is
Having
big.
the 2-star Dwarf Sniper will massively increase his damage output. And he's taking on Chuck right now and coming out better, even versus 2 Lightblade Knights. It is close, but he's still going to win this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Max can turn it around. He has gone all in terms of money. Angel Devil is still rolling in money, actually. Still has 40 gold. Let's have a look at Max, where he's at. Okay, so he did lose the last round against Bruce, I believe, so...
Now
he actually... Yeah.
He's now 6 mages, though. He is 6 mages at this point, so...
Yeah, so they finally hit that.
He was first very early on. I would just use the egg to 2-star that Tortola. He's given the Magic Crystal over to it as well. Interesting that he's not cornering the Tortola or fully cornering it, because what I like to do with Tortola is it usually goes in the back right corner because it reduces the number of angles that Tortola has to fire his ultimate. And it stops Tortola doing this. It stops Tortola doing this.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. It also makes the spread of his cone so much worse, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, pretty big defeat. They're taking 13 damage. Max is really on the ropes here, being all in. Angel Death still cool with his 50 gold here. It takes a lot of damage from Broom Run. As a result, he has to go all in after this creep round, I believe. I think Angel Death was kind of being a little greedy here, trying to wait for the creep round until going all in, so you could get an additional, if you could call it a free round of interest, since you're probably going to beat the creep round, right?
Yeah, you're going to beat the creep round with this comp no matter what happens. But what he has got to work with right now is 2 eggs, which means that he's got 50 gold. He can roll it down to 0. It's very likely that we're going to see him pick up at least a 2-star Pirate Captain and at least a 2-star Doom. I would imagine he gets both, which is going to be a serious power increase for this composition, and he needs it right now. The only issue is that he's playing a Beast Warrior comp, and
I was just about to say,
usually when you play Beast Warrior comps, you want to have a really high HP total in the late game because you know that you're going to fall off compared to a lot of other builds. So he's got a little bit less leeway to work with, yo.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say, yeah, you're completely right. Beast Warrior is something you really want to use to pressure your opponents to roll early, but actually he's the player that's being pressured currently, and he doesn't scale that well, right? Just like you said. So this is scary for Angel Devil. He's just... think he'll be really happy with like a 4th or a 5th. I think that would be amazing for him at this point because he's gonna push all in here. But then the next step to be even stronger than this is just so far off.
Yeah, I think once you get the 2-star Doom, that's it, right? You don't really have any super big power increases, and I don't even really like Swordman in Beast Warrior because he actually doesn't spend that much time basic attacking, instead spends a lot of time spinning, which is not a bad thing per se, but it doesn't take as much benefit out of the Beast Warrior composition as some other units would do. What he is good versus things like mages and hunters because he ignores the CC, but wow, Max just managing to, Angel Devil and Max just really scraping by. Max is in a rough spot at this point in time.
Max actually beat Angel of Devil here also, and that must be feeling bad for Angel Devil since he played against the player in last place there, which is all in, but still though, it's gonna be a little scary. I think we're gonna see both of these players going out pretty soon here, as even though they both went all in, both of their games were so close. We should see a 3-star light blade knight here.
And Chuck's playing Dragon Knights. We have not seen a single Dragon Knight comp this game, but he has got 2-star Dragon Knight to work with. And I actually used to like Dragon Knights versus pretty much anything in the meta back when they were super strong a few months ago. And I do think they have a better matchup versus mages. And as you can see, with the 3-star Lightblade Knight, he's going to have a really strong matchup versus pretty much anybody in this lobby right now.
Yeah, it's a good point. A reason why Knights, having 6 Knights instead of 4, is a little stronger against mages is that mages has a big initial burst of damage, and most of your glacier units actually doesn't survive that.
Yes, exactly.
And like the voodoo doctor and the desperate doctor, sorry, the shaman, they all die in the initial tutorial elder burst. Well, if you get an additional shield, your units in the front is gonna survive, and then you can kind of grind them down.
Yeah, you can see. By the way, Angel of Devil got knocked out. I believe he faced up against Bomberon, which is never going to be a good matchup, first versus last. Max is now on the ropes as well. Interestingly enough, with Chuck's composition, something that I think has been kind of talked about why Glacier Knights became much stronger is that they actually got the opportunity to... Oh, Chuck's going to take a lot of damage here. They actually get the opportunity to generate their shield 1 second earlier into a fight. So Knights cannot generate their shield for at least 2 seconds when they enter into a fight here. But because they're sort of had that changed a couple of patches ago, it's made Knights much stronger in general. And Chuck almost beating Bomberon here. He's going to take minimal damage from these 2 Wormy boys, but that shows you how strong Chuck has managed to become, even though he's in a pretty poor position HP-wise.
Yeah. He is way stronger than it looks, especially on this scoreboard here. In terms of life, let's have a look at Tutu, because he was up there in terms of life total, but he's running that Beast War. He actually has transitioned into, he's going with that Hunter and Beast War frontline, I'd say.
Yes, so it's kind of like Hunter Beast Warrior, which gives your Hunters a significant damage increase.
Yeah, this is the maximum damage you can get from the Hunter comp.
Yeah, this is a fine build. This is pretty solid. I actually he's going to be taking on to Max here. What I dislike about this build though is that you do sacrifice the Warlock part of it as well as the Armor Shred from the Venomancer, which is a build that actually Tutu created himself. And so he's kind of gone for a different style here, but what he has given himself is the Marine bonus, which is allowing him to take on the likes of Max here.
Right, for sure. I think he does have a race. Yeah, it's a Razor Claw instead of the Venomancer. He does already have a Tsunami Stalker on the bench, so that's actually really early. That's one way to put in a Marine unit, and I like him saving it because if he gets more into the late game, that's going to be really nice to have to be flexible. One of the things with the Hunter builds with the Warrior frontline is you kind of sculpt your game around that. He does actually sell it now since he does have 2 Marine, and probably is not it's going to cost him too much gold until late game. But what I was about to say is that you can go with so many different things in the front line. You can add more damage, you can have the Marine bonus with Abyssal Guard, you can also you can get all these kind of different synergies depending on what you're playing against.
I think the reason that Tutu got rid of the Tsunami Stalker right there was because, unfortunately, Tsunami Stalker level 1 kind of sucks. His HP total is really low, and it's very likely he gets blown up before he's ultimate. What Abyssal Guard offers is he's tankier, he's got a bit of its single target armor shred. He's also just not likely to die as quickly. So that just means it gives more time to for your hunters to do their job, which is probably what Tutu wanted in this scenario.
Boomerang still doing well. Jin, Su. Okay, we have Jiquen here also on Glacier Knights. Let's have a look at Jinso, see what he's working with here. Up to level 9, has a full kind of Knight Glacier plus that Storm Shaman for that extra Shaman.
It deals with something like this. It deals with Max.
Perfect.
It's a very, very good way to actually beat mages and guarantee good results. Although you can see, unfortunately, Max has just got too many 2-stars right now as well. And Max is in a good spot. Max is winning right now consistently. I think he's on a sort of at least a 4 win streak from what I remember.
Yeah, let's have a look at the graph from the win streak. He's on a lose.
Yeah, 4 win streak. He's on a 4 win streak. I was going to say he can't be on a lose streak because he would have been out if he was on a lose streak.
That wouldn't make any sense. For sure. He does actually have a 3-star God of
War. You were just talking about it at the start of this game.
We haven't seen any yet. It feels weird. It's like one of the most common 3-star units, I feel like, or at least what people are going for. And usually the biggest reason why you don't get it to 3-star that often is because so many people are going for it. Right?
Well, it's such a good front line for pretty much everybody in this game right now. It's so good at dealing with Glacier Knights as mages because it just tanks so much damage for you, though. He is now going up against Bomberon. He does need to get a big Tortola Elder onto here. It's not actually, it's not looking that good. I mean, this Razor Claw Bear is really doing work.
It's going for the backline, just circumventing that God of War. Okay, are we gonna get another Tortola Elder ult? It does seem like it. I think that's gonna be enough, even though the Poison Worm doesn't take any magic damage. It does actually focus the source. So we do have another channel, however. A little scared there.
That was so scary for Max.
Close. Wow.
I was certain that was over for Max. I was very concerned. Bruce is the other player running mages right now. He's not running Dragon Mages as a whole yet because he has not yet found a 2-star Dragon Knight. I actually appreciate this, and I like the fact he's kept Spirits in and used the Spirits as the front line because it actually helps him versus Bomberon.
For sure. Yeah, you get the Spirit bonus, which stuns melee units. Also, that Water Spirit is much better of a tank than you would have anticipated because he takes a few amounts of damage in the beginning, and with that source, he gets Ash's ult off, and then he like kind of blinks through your opponent, and that's kind of the first damage that is dealt is kind of going into the void, if you will.
But watch what he turns the Lightblade Knights around. So he
Which is also perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He blinks. He basically blinks through the enemy composition and turns the backline onto him, buying you some crucial seconds to get things like your Tortola ultimate.
If he doesn't have the range in the beginning to stand there in the front line. So, and additionally, if you have 6 mages, Water Spirit actually deals a ton of magic damage.
It does.
It's not to be underestimated. So nice way to transition here for sure for Bruce. I like this kind of creative like flexibility, and we do see him go up to 9, putting in that Dragon Knight.
You might as well. If you're at 9 and you have nothing else to put in, you might as well put that Dragon Knight in. And when he gets into 2-star, I expect some repositioning here because right now it's not worth much at 1-star. It only has single target magic burn, which is kind of lackluster when you're playing the Dragon Mage comp. I'm interested to see Chuck, by the way. He hasn't lost any HP for quite some time. He's on a 4-win streak with the 3-star Lightblade Knight. He's also now level 9 himself, so has the Agursis bonus in there as well.
Wow, yeah, Chuck actually looking really strong with his unit. The thing that he is lacking, however, is a few amount of items like this Lightblade Knight. It doesn't have too much to work with, and one of the issues with Lightblade Knight is its low attack speed. And you really want to increase that weight, for instance, Max, for example.
Oh, Max is out. We just missed Max getting dropped out here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make his mage comp work, and Tutu, just as we talked him up this game, he transitioned into Hunters, but he really hasn't increased his power level for quite some time in this game.
Yeah, we talked a little about that. The issue sometimes with Hunters and also Beast Warriors is that it can be hard to transition into more powerful late game around 30 or later, so for sure. Yeah, he doesn't actually have a lot of, like, he has the Soul Reaper he can get, he has a Pirate Captain, but after that, he's going to be stuck at this for the rest of the game, basically. Like.
Yeah, he can't increase his power level much more than he's at right now, unfortunately. So we'll have to see how Tutu fares.
Not a lot of upgraded items so far, actually. Very surprisingly, even at rank 30, there's not a lot of combinations going on. There's a ton. Wow, Jinso has massive amount of items.
He's the guy who found 6 items in the first 3 rounds, and now he's just
absurd.
He's just rolling in items. Chuck did manage to find himself a Wraith Shard, by the way, so that is going to allow him to get some attack speed. Oh, Killerbot 3000 as well. On Lightblade with Frantic Mask as well. Jinsu is in a solid spot
I mean,
here.
It's only 2-star, but whatever, who cares? I mean, look at this Lightblade Knight. This is the difference between a Knight player doing so well and a Knight player doing a little bit worse, is that these items just do so much. Let's have a look at how much this Lightblade Knight shreds.
I just want to keep an eye on it. He's playing up against...
Ooh, it's a moment of truth then.
Yeah, he's playing up against Yaquen, but Yaquen has got some 3-stars on his side.
3 of them, right? 3 3-star Knights.
Wow.
Yeah, that is going to be enough actually to beat him. So, yeah, that does make sense.
Tutu's out, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for him. Spreading his love, spreading his items to the other player, possibly increasing their power level for the next coming round. Let's see what Bruce is working with. He still hasn't found a Dark Spirit instead of that Water Spirit. Dark Spirit would be nice here, especially against all these snipers. It does still pure damage, however, so you got to think about that is not getting increased by the mage bonus.
He did just find 2-star Dragon Knight as well, which is a big upgrade for him. But if he faces up against Jinsu, Yekwen, Chuck, he might be in a rough spot. I think the damage that Beast Warrior has done to this lobby has meant that Dragon Mages in general are really hard to get going.
For sure, yeah, you need to go in a lot earlier than you would have wanted. Yeah, but I think Bruce is kind of at his peak now, if you will. So
this is the problem, though. When you've got a 3-star Hell Knight and a 3-star Lightblade Knight, you can't actually beat that very easily as Dragon Mage.
No, yeah, it does take a lot for sure. Whew. Yeah, I'm a little scared. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna speculate a little bit here. I think because before we saw a lot of Dragon Mage players, right?
Yes.
But only going up to 3 mages before winter thing.
Winter Kairup Terran?
Oh my god. Either way, but they used to run a much stronger front line previously. And this might be one of the reasons why it's harder to beat the Knight players.
Yeah, I think so, but I also think that when you play Dragon Mage usually you like to have a good HP pool to be able to trade off. And in the late game, you use that HP pool. When you are going up against someone like Bomberon, who has high-rolled his way through a Beast Warrior comp, it is a really rough spot to be in. We could see some losses. We could see some people get knocked out here. I think that Yekwen is going to be fine. Chuck is going out, though. Chuck is out in 5th right now.
So that's going to be down to the wire. We have Boomerang being way ahead here, so looking good for him, but 2nd to 4th, it's going to be so close.
And he's at 54 gold still. Yeah. He's got the Marine bonus in his roster. As soon as I think Bruce gets knocked out, he can just ditch those Marines. We've got a 3-star Berserker.
Jesus,
oh my word, Bomberon.
I haven't seen this in any competitive game so far.
Have you not? No, I've only ever found 3-star Berserker 3 or 4
times.
Yeah, well, 3 or 4 times in my career, but
yeah.
That's such an insane unit right now.
This is so strong. If you pile on items on 3-star Berserker, it's like impossible to kill because he gains so much life with those lifesteal items. If you only get the Frenzy Mask and maybe some more damage item, it's gonna go nuts.
Good to see Bruce. I think Bruce is out here, so we have our top 3 locked in. I think Yekwen and Jinsu, I'm not sure if either of them. Jinsu? Oh, he's at 1%.
Priest Shield saving him here.
Yeah.
Let's see if that's going to propel him into 2nd place instead of 3rd, because he's not going to overtake this bomber.
This is a good, I think this is a good illustration of how 3-stars in Glacier Knight actually beats out items.
Yeah.
Because you see the 3-star Lightblade and the 3-star Hell Knight coming out consistently up against Jinsu, who has the most ridiculous item rolls I've ever seen in a competitive game.
The thing with Knights is that their shield is so powerful in the way that it makes your HP and your damage scale so much better.
It increases your effective HP by a massive amount.
The effect, every HP matters more than any other comp.
Yeah.
And also if you have higher damage with more HP, it just scales off each other.
Yes.
And so getting 3-stars in especially Hell Knight and Silverblade Knight is just so crucial. We can't even say Jinso's items here.
It's just too many. There are just too many items.
This is double bar amount of items. Let's have a look if we get some sick upgrades here. We do have that Scythe of Vice for Boomerang on the Dark Spirit, so really nice for him.
Yeah.
It's very good at turning some of these carries into sheeps, if you will, like doing the Hex.
I don't think Jinsu beats either Yekwen or Bomberon here. I think he's probably out in this round regardless.
Maybe Yekwen will go out before him if he plays against Bomberon.
Yes.
Because Bomberon does have tons of damage in his comp, so it's likely if you play against him, you're gonna lose faster.
Yekwen is facing up against Bomberon now. I think we'll see the race between Jinsu and Yekwen to see who actually goes out first here.
It seems like Jinsu, is he gonna hold the Siren ult was so powerful here. Yeah, Yekwen actually does beat him. What about Yekwen on his board? Does he survive here?
Oh, he's so close, but yes, I think Jinsu's going out first.
He might actually win against... No, the Berserker is not going to die. He's just going to go off here. Yeah, that Berserker is being... Okay, so if you've seen Silverblade Knights being so powerful as the last unit that survives, Berserker 3 is even worse.
It's like that on steroids. Quite literally.
Quite literally that on steroids.
It's such a powerful unit. But Bomberon does indeed get the win here. Japanese player rather. And you can see he played the Beast Warrior comp, which has been, in my eyes, the dominant comp of this tournament so far.
Yeah, it seems to be making another push. We've seen a lot of Beast Warrior previously, not in the last metagame, but the one before that we saw a lot of Beast Warrior being...
Don't remind me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was previously when Warriors had more armor, Werewolf was stronger, etc. Even Tusk Champion. But we see them make quite of a comeback here, and it's super interesting to see.
Yeah,
awesome.
That does it for our first round of matches there. Any major surprises there after that game? I mean, I know we were hyping up 2-2 a lot from the Japanese region. He ended up getting 6th place, only accumulating 2 points there.
I think
Bomberon, was it a big surprise for him to really...
No, not at all, actually.
Bomberon was very well respected by players coming into this. I think a lot of people knew how strong he was. Tutu was not a surprise because he transitioned into Hunters but didn't have the core units to work with, so it just wasn't a good transition. I think it was good in the sense that no one else was going Hunters, but he was just unlucky. He just didn't find what he needed to make that comp work. The surprise for me, again, is just how poorly Dragon Mages is performing so far. And I think it's because Beast Warrior has come into the meta. I think you are not given the time and space to get a good economy rolling in the early game. The way we saw it happen in the qualifiers is everybody just played safe. They just went to 50 gold and they rolled it and they just like got the units that they wanted and that was it. In this meta, we're seeing Beast Warrior come out. You get to round 20, most of your Dragon Mage players are at 30 HP, and they just don't have the time.
But I think that's interesting because, I mean, before this metagame, people were having a solid frontline. I think that's a big thing. Maybe this new metagame, which has evolved from Dragon Mages being only 3 mages with a 3 warrior frontline, going into 6 mages with a much weaker frontline. Maybe people will catch up upon that and having Beast Wars being able to defeat that. Maybe it's involved.
And as you guys are chatting about this, we're going to throw up some of our detailed stats that we love to look at, which is very relevant to what you're talking about as we take a closer look at these compositions and how it all shook out.
Sure, I'm interested because have a look at Max. This is the key example that we were talking about that you mentioned here, Yoel. He actually had a good frontline. The God of War 3 can be your sole tank. He had 2 stars on his mages across the board. He just, again, had too little HP. He couldn't afford to lose one round. You know, he had a 4-win streak before he lost. And that was because Bomberon beat down so many people in this lobby with the Beast Warrior build that actually these mage players, what you'll find in the late game is that they win 85% of their rounds in the late game, but because they have more HP to work with in a slower lobby, when they lose that 15%, they don't get knocked out.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
And Max, unfortunately, was at like 4 HP when he hit this really strong, you know, almost full mage build.
I remember that. I mean, he did stay alive for a long time, I remember. After hitting 4 HP, he hung in there.
But he just rolled the wrong player. And that's the problem that you have as a mage player. Like, if you're going up against Glacier Knights, you're going to get a round where Knight Shield RNG does not favor you. And because the Beast Warrior players are beating the HP out of these mage players before they get to the late game, if you have one bad Knight round and the Knight Shield RNG goes massively in the Knight's favor, you're going to lose.
And that's why we see people needing to turn around lose streaks and such so much earlier, because you need a buffer. You're playing against 7 different players in an 8-player lobby, and while you might beat 6 of them, you might not beat the 7th. So you got to be ready to be able to play against that person, right?
Yes.
So once you do, you'll maybe lose a bit of life or even a lot of life, but if you can do it a couple of times, you're going to end up in the first or second spot, right?
So I think a good way to now approach this game, if you know that Beast Warriors are coming out strong, I'd love to see more God builds. I think God builds can do well. I think they've got a lot of CC locked into them. I think they've got a lot of flat damage with the Storm Shaman 2 and the 3 mages.
For sure.
I would love to see a bit more Hunter early game because it can compete with Beast Warrior in the early game. I'd even like
Siren being really good against them.
Yeah, I'd even like to maybe even see just some strict 9 warrior builds if people really want to go down that road, because it's just a really good flat damage physical reduction. There is a lot of the ways that you can play this, but I think if you're going Dragon Mages every game, which relies on core 4 costs, you're not going to get the time to build it. You have to be just lucky to get Dragon Mages, I think, to work properly.
Maybe one of the most important things in these lobbies, which have turned a little bit more aggressive, is seeing what people are trying to move into in terms of understanding the tempo of the game, and then you can decide afterwards. But then again, I mean, this is not like pick and choose or rock paper scissors. You're not gonna get to choose rock beforehand and figure, you know. You take what you can
take
get,
what you get, yeah.
But then you can like skew it into different directions. Like you can make if there's a
have
split
your transitions
decision,
ready, right?
Exactly. If you have a split decision between two different comps, maybe you can lean towards something else, but you don't get indefinite decisions, right?
Well, I'm curious how this is going to look. Obviously, this is a best of 3, so that was just game 1 of 3. So we'll have to see what changes are made going into the next game. But we're going to take a short break here from the 2019 Auto Chess Invitational. Remember, $1 million prize pool. Bomberon, he's at the top of the group right now. Can he keep his winning ways up going into game 2? We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with the next game.